if I looked at my magic 8 ball or whatever right here, what I'd like to see in 5 years is that we're developing major subdivides, 1 to 3 acres, something like that. I feel like you're serving the land and the community better.
Daniel and I, when we first started, you just have to separate like roles, responsibilities. Someone's in charge of it. So if it's texting, Autumn's in charge of texting.
We want to get good at the processes, so we know when we do come to the point of needing to hire someone, we can give them the process that has worked for us.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Real Estate Investing Podcast. I have today with me Seth and Autum McKay. And you guys have only been in the business 4 months. Like typically people on the podcast, I just recorded with someone who's been in the business a year. This is definitely early, but you guys have had so much early success. You guys worked with Derek as your coach or you still are working with him, but 4 months in. And I know Derek's one who like pushes you guys, but welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, happy to have you guys here. Let's just first back up to what got you started in this business. How did you guys find land flipping? What got you started in land flipping?
I've been kind of a bigger pockets junkie probably a few years ago now, and I kept trying to get on board with having rental properties, but I just couldn't get there. I just didn't want another headache because my job was already pretty busy, so I didn't want to invest in so much of a daily job with. Yeah, I think what are the 3 T's, like toilets, tenants, and termites?
Termites.
Yeah. And so I just couldn't get there, but we've been wanting to get into real estate for years. And we actually did a land flip personally, almost on accident. We bought some land, we were going to build on it, and it didn't work out, so we sold it. And we looked and we're like, oh, we actually made money on this flip. And then honestly, they didn't trigger anything for like a year. And then I just happened to hear about basically the land investing strategy going off market, and kind of dove in there, and it just kind of clicked. It made sense for me and felt like something that could work. It's kind of project based, which has been consistent with my career, and being organized was just being organized, managing the projects was one of the big skill sets I felt like, and sales and being good on the phone. I felt like I'd be good there. And so it just, where the 3 T's didn't line up with my life, the land investing made more sense to me. And we like land.
Yeah.
So some YouTube education and like, Autumn, for you, did it click pretty fast? Did it make sense? You're like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. So he's always been like a entrepreneur type of person. And so I've gotten behind him, over the years through our marriage. But, so he like sent me some podcasts, like, listen to this one, listen to this one. And I got behind him on that. And I even took some like real estate courses, just to like better understand what was going on in this industry.
Was it ever like an aha moment, or was it like, Seth, when was this when you started, like you found out that this is like an actual thing, like you accidentally flipped a piece of land? When was it that you started like that education process, not formal education, but watching YouTube? Was it October? You went forward with coaching in January. When was that actually like you started like, okay, this is an actual real business?
I feel like approximately August. Does that sound right to you?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we actually bought your course in December, early December. And basically my goal was to get through the whole course and then set up the LLC at the beginning of 2025, and then set up coaching. Once kind of all the details, website, LLC, all the details were sorted out, then I wanted to, I wanted to compress time by working with a coach.
No marketing by yourselves. As far as before that, you did use December to do the formal education, no marketing, and then January when you had a coach, that's when you like, all right, I want to hit the ground running. That's
correct. I wanted to have a coach before we bought our first mailer, before I made an expensive, $2,000 or $3,000 mistake, right? I wanted to take advantage of the coach.
Awesome. That's really, really cool. And credit to you for kind of investing in that, because it's an investment, obviously. And you said just kind of the value, what is the value you guys saw in like having someone? Is it just like avoiding mistakes? Like some people struggle to see, like they see the price of a coach and they don't see the price or the potential loss of money from a mistake or something like that. Is that the biggest thing that kind of drove you towards investing in a coach?
Yeah, I think so. In her business, a publishing business that we started maybe 8 years ago, we we had paid for a coach in that business, a marketing coach with more traditional marketing background, and large publishers. And we paid for a coach there, and we felt like we learned a lot, got our money back, and everything. And
Grow a business faster through
yep,
that process.
yeah, and that was kind of the same thing I wanted to do here, which was invest, basically invest early and compress the amount of time that it took us to get, turn this into a nice business. And also, I just felt like the cost of coaching would save me from making a mistake that cost probably as much as the coaching did.
That's a good point, and a lot of people. That's a mature kind of way to look at it, because a lot of people just look at the cost of what they're investing, and instead of, like I said, the cost of what they could potentially lose. Do you guys, either of you guys, have W-2s? Did either of you guys sound like entrepreneurs, like you had publishing business. Do you still have that publishing business? What does your life look like job-wise outside of land? Because that's probably not fully supporting at this point. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm completely wrong. But where are you guys outside of that in terms of W-2s, jobs, income? Not amount, just in terms of what you guys are doing.
So we do still have the publishing business, and we've had that for about 8 years, and it's done well and supported us.
We sold about a little north of 150,000 books.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I have not written anything in the past couple of years, just because we've been busy with life.
We're foster parents,
Okay.
and real parents, whatever you want to call it,
Biological
bio
parents.
kids.
Yeah. How many kids do you have running around your house total?
Right now we only have our 3 biological.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the most you've had?
We've had 5.
Okay.
For 6
5
months.
total. Okay,
yeah,
so
we had
nothing like 12 or
No,
running
no.
around trying
couldn't
to
do
mess
that
up
to
your
ourselves.
land business.
And so I should interject. We were full time on her business for a few years, and then about 4 years ago, a friend of mine who I'd worked with before was starting a business, and so I joined him and got a W-2 for about 4 years, and I left that
In January.
in January.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And frankly, I was going to leave that business either way, to just get a breather. That's kind of how I like to work, is like, the corporate grind can be a lot. And so I like to sprint and then go take a break and hang out with my kids. And so I knew we were going to take a break either way. And it worked out well that it was a good time to start this business.
How does land line up, comparing it to the publishing business or other entrepreneurship ventures you guys have done in terms of opportunity? How does that line up in your mind?
Well, it gives us a lot more freedom, I would say, with our day-to-day life, but also with planning for the future.
I would say the marketing lines up.
Yeah.
So selling a book is, it's like selling a iPhone or whatever widget. You got to get eyeballs out. And so you understand maybe the flow of marketing and how to get in front of people. And here we're not getting in front of much on the sell side, but it's more important to get in front of them on the buy side. And I feel like that lines up well. It's just, it's a little bit different angled marketing, but just, with selling books, we're trying to get eyeballs, through keywords, all that stuff. And it's the same thing here. We're trying to get eyeballs to see our offer to buy their land.
And with publishing, like even before you write the book, you're thinking of how you're going to market it. And it's the same with when you buy a piece of land, like you're thinking how you can market that piece of land. Like, are you going to subdivide it? Are you going to sell it as is? Like, how are you going to?
Yeah. And the publishing business is low inventory. We did have another business that was more FBA focused with inventory. And that business was very cash hungry. And so the more you won at the business, the more cash you needed to invest on basically in future products. I can feel, you can play land that way or the other way, but I feel the same thing with land where personally, I'm not going to want to take out cash too quickly because I'm going to keep rolling it into new deals.
That makes a lot of sense. So when you first got started, you had that first onboarding call essentially with Derek. Did you guys already have like a marketing plan set up? Was that first? What did that look like? Because a lot has happened from January to where you are now, and I want to get into that aspect of because that's why a lot of people are listening. Like, how do I get on the podcast in the first 4 months? What did that look like when you first had that first onboarding call with Derek? Like, what was your plan you were setting up?
So we already had our letter, our Rev one of our offer letter, and we wanted him to review that. And then we had done some county selection, but we wanted to go through it with him and just benefit from his knowledge, obviously. And
Basically, we wanted to check cross our T's, dot our I's, make sure we were like doing it correctly.
yeah, so fundamentally, we're showing them, hey, these are counties we think are good, yes or no. This is a letter we think is good, yes or no, and start from there, and then get his blessing on some counties, right, and move on.
So what was your mail volume like? So January, February, March, not end of it. About like what's your mail volume? Were you doing follow up texts from the start? I know you said, I think it was off camera. You said you're doing follow up texts. Can you just talk about those first few months in terms of marketing?
Yeah, in early March, we had two counties hit at about 5,000 mailers, and then
Each?
no,
No,
total,
yeah.
Total.
and then you followed up
Yeah.
a little later.
Yeah, about 2 weeks after our mail hit is when I follow up with the text.
And I asked her because she's head of texting and county selection, right? And I do the phone, and that's we split up in various ways. So for any couples out there, there's that's a pro tip is
Divide and
That's a
conquer.
good one for sure. You don't fight to attack each
right.
other or something like that. You have over Daniel and I when we first started, like you just have to separate like roles, respond. Who's in charge? Like it's not like you can't be a part of it, but
Right.
someone's in charge of it.
Yeah.
So if it's texting, Autumn's in charge of texting, everything like that. So when did your first deal come? Like what kind of success did you have early on? Did you send marketing in January first off?
No.
no. It was sent probably mid-February.
Okay.
And landed a few weeks later. As I guess anyone knows, and for future investors, it's when you set up your mailer the first time, you probably lose about 2.5 weeks because they've got to send you back the approval of first your draft, and then later the letters with the merged data on them. So you lose a little bit of time up there. I know Derek would say texting is better because you can jump right to it. But so yeah, those hit in early March, those 5,000, and then I feel like about half of our interest came after your follow up text.
Yeah. We did get one PA mailed back to us
Yeah.
from that. We were actually pretty surprised from that.
And then one person called from the letter and was just like, curious about what we were up to and all this stuff. And then that moved into a signed PA.
And then I think the other four were
Right.
after text follow up.
Yeah.
So how many properties have you bought to date?
So we have 6 under contract. 2 are closing next week.
3.
3 are closing
We
next
just got
week.
the-
6 under contract to buy.
Yes.
Yeah, to purchase, right?
Okay.
And then we already have sales agreements for 3 of those.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're double closing those.
Yes.
Yeah, basically, and we didn't go into it for double close. Like I was going to buy it either way, but it just happened. It just so happened that I was talking to the neighbor about one of the parcels was landlocked, where only I thought the neighbor would want it. So I talked to him, and then of course he had a friend, and it just kind of snowballed into us selling those 3
Yeah.
before we needed to market on MLS or do anything like that.
Did Derek push you for double closing or just happened?
It just happened.
He does recommend double close.
Yeah, I know he's on team double close.
Yeah. There's times and places. There's so many different ways to do this business, as I'm sure you guys know and have heard from listening to the podcast. So you guys in your first, we're not that far. Your marketing just hit. Your first marketing just hit 45 days. You have 6 deals under contract, 3 that are already scheduled for like double closing. And if everything goes right on these deals, like what does your projected profit for these look like?
It is about 110 grand.
From all 6?
Yeah, from all combined.
That's awesome. That's exciting. Not everyone sees this in the first 3 months. That's why you guys are on here. And Derek had nothing but good things to say
Yeah.
in terms of kind of what you guys have done. Just hit the ground running. Like was there fear at any point like doing this business, or was it like you guys were pretty bought in? You guys obviously invested a lot into coaching, into mail, into all these different things. Was there ever like a doubt or fear? But you guys saw success relatively early, I guess.
My only fear is like, what if we get stuck with the land? Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, we already have 3 of them under contract. So that's a
Makes it
big
easier.
win.
Yeah, and I would say the last time I left my W-2 to start the publishing business, that was way more of a leap of faith.
Yeah.
We, we had less money,
Yeah.
less, there's less income potential, especially short term there. So comparatively to that, this looks like a no-brainer, and we're just in a better spot in life to take the risk. And so, worst case, maybe we end up with some land and lose a bit of money if it doesn't work out or something long term. But the pros look too good, not to take the shot for now.
I mean, anyone would sign up to be where you guys are right now, 4 months into your land business. Like you're $110,000 projected profit, which is awesome. So you guys are definitely doing the right stuff in terms of that. So is it the plan going forward, 5,000 mailers per month, 5,000 follow-up texts, and just stay on that for a little bit and see what that does? Or are you scaling up at all? Talk about that in like the next 6 months.
Yeah, we have about 5,000 mailers hitting probably this week, into this week, next week. And so that's kind of our second large batch. And that's kind of what I've thought is the 5,000 mailers per month was what I wanted to be consistent with. And then we would have her follow-ups. And then I believe you would be texting beyond that, cold
Yeah,
texting,
I've
right?
done a couple cold texts as well. We've had a couple of responses, but most of them are just like outlandish numbers that they want and stuff. So we thought we'd stick with what is working right now.
Yeah, so right now, what I'd like to do is get steady on the 5,000 mailers per month, and then maybe if that workload looks okay, and I'm happy with the results, I could start to creep that up because that looks like the biggest lever I've got to accelerate the business is just send more mail.
That makes sense. And yeah, I think sticking to that and like becoming as efficient in that part, like, okay, this is what we're doing. Some people try to jump so fast, and then it's kind of like I was talking to someone earlier, and he overhired. Like he hired because he thought hiring a person is going to make him more money, which sometimes you make the wrong hires, you put them in the wrong seats. Same thing with just upping your volume of marketing. If you do it the wrong way, it can hurt you more than it helps for sure. Talk about your guys' responsibility. We said Autumn is in charge of texting. How do you guys, what is there overlap in anything? Who's in charge of what spots? Because I'm sure there's other husband and wives listening here. Like they seem like they're making this work really well. We could do the same thing. But talk about that and like splitting the roles. What does that look like?
Yeah, so you handle texting and county selection, and then I don't care about the count. Like whatever you tell me, whichever county you tell me to do, I'm going to run the data on it and mail it. and so you get us that far, right?
And then I've written the mailer and created that, and I design like all the contracts and write those.
And you're in charge of dispo.
Yeah, well, I say I am, but I've kind of like handed that off.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, I was on the phone with setting up a few of those, but so maybe there's some overlap there. And then after county selection, I'm in charge of basically comping, doing the data analysis and coming up with our list there, and then handling the phone calls and basically getting to PA point, and then I can say to her
everything Excel is all him. So
yeah.
Autumn, how far do you take the texting, or do you try to get them on the phone with Seth? What is your goal when you have a potential interested seller? Like, how far do you take that via text, or is it different per person?
Yeah, it's different per person. If I get a response and that says like, yeah, send me an offer, I'm like, okay, well, do you want me to text it, or would you like a phone call? And usually they just want the text. There have been a couple that have wanted a phone call, and then I hand it over to him. And then on the text, we have like, he's the signature at the end of the text. That way, when he's the one that jumps on the call, there's no confusion of, well, she was texting me, but you're on the phone with me.
And there were a few that we looked back on and we felt like we actually jumped to the call, trying to get the call too quickly and saying, okay, great. Like, when's a good time to set up a call? Where we all know some people would just rather keep texting for at least a little bit. So that's maybe one thing we'll.
Yeah, we scared them off a little bit.
Yeah, we think we scared them, especially like think of a millennial landowner. Like they're gonna say, "Get out of here! I'm not getting on the phone with you."
Interesting. So yeah, you guys have your roles. So that makes a lot of sense.
Ever wondered how land investing can be the fastest path to financial freedom? I break it all down in my new book, One Lot at a Time. I'll show you exactly how to find, buy, and flip land for huge profits without dealing with houses, tenants, or any crazy renovations. It's simple. This is the book that I wish I had when I first started. If you're ready to take control of your financial future, grab a copy now. One Lot at a Time by Daniel Apke. Find it at your local bookstore or on Amazon.com.
What do you guys like? Because obviously, being so new in this, I mean, you have a coach who can be helpful with that kind of with stuff as well. But as far as testing different things, as far as like making minor adjustments, is it just kind of as you go? Like, okay, this might work, or like, is it more thought out? Like, we should be trying this with texting, this with mail, whatever it is. Like, how are you guys testing different things, if at all, or are you just kind of sticking to what you're doing right now?
We did do a second revision on our mailer. Basically, we kind of think about like what would we respond to if we got a mailer or a text. And so our second revision, we have more bullet points instead of paragraphs, but we still have it very personable so that it represents us, but also like so that we can get a call.
Yeah, and I would say in a lot of ways we're leaning on her experience with marketing ad copy, just because she's been doing that for her business with newsletters or buying ads for a long time, and so that's one thing where I'm just trusting her to do what feels right because she's actually has a lot of experience in it.
Yeah, and testing all those different things on how they're working. Are you testing A/B testing Autumn text copy and stuff like that as well? Because that's obviously probably a big part of it. Are you doing that?
So I have like two groups of text set up, and I've been checking to make sure like which ones get more responses or which ones get more deliverability. And so I have noticed that there is one group that gets more response rate. So I've been using that one more.
Is it a little funny? I know
Yeah,
Derek says to be
yeah.
funny.
It's the more like, yeah,
Casual, maybe.
yeah.
Yeah, Derek was really big when Derek was on the podcast, whatever it was, last week, 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, I don't know. But yeah, he was very big on like, how do you approach the texting? Because like you only get, I don't think you can't just keep sending cold text messages to these people. Like you
Right.
need to get a response or like it's going to cut you off. So there's definitely limits within that. And I like the casual nature of that first text just to get responses. Like you need more leads to get more leads. Like you need responses. And I think some people just like for going back to letters, some people take the letter and just like send it as is. Like I think in the course, I'm pretty blunt, like make this personable, make someone like connect with someone, tell a story, because that's so big about like a connection. Like you're not just a company, like you're a person. You guys are a couple, husband and wife who are doing that. I'm sure that's a big part of your letter, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yep.
Yeah, we mention our kids. We have a like picture of our family, like a goofy picture. Yeah.
That's important, I think, because the first battle is getting them to open it and not go directly in the trash, and you can try different things for that. The second battle is getting them to call you, connect with the letter, everything like that. What about your goals in this business? Let's just talk about 2025 goals, because you guys started essentially in 2025 in this business. Do you have deal goals, revenue goals? What do those goals look like, if anything?
What were they? Do you remember? Because I think
well,
we're beating them.
So when he left his job, he is very high up and like got a lot of connections. So he's been getting a lot of job opportunities come his way. And so his goal and our goal was to make this work so that none of these opportunities look appealing.
Too good.
That he wants to go back. So basically just to replace the income that he was making so that he doesn't have to go back to a W-2 job.
And I wanted 2 parcels bought and sold, I believe, by the end of summer.
Yeah, I said by the end of September.
Yeah.
But yeah, he said by the end of summer.
Yeah, and I thought really for the first year that if we did 100,000 in profit, that I was going to be pleased with that, frankly. Just, spooling up. I thought that was good. So obviously now I'm thinking, well, let's make it, two or three.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
It's
we
very
eventually
realistic.
want to like be in a position to give back to like our kids' school or the community or yeah.
Talk about like being able to not have the pressure to go back to a job, Seth. Like what does that allow for you to do with your family? Like how is that going to change your life if like 12 months down the line, or let's just say end December, like there's no way I'm ever going back to a job, like how land is. Like what does that allow you to do? What does that freedom look like?
yeah, mostly, I'm sure you've heard it. You want to separate early on. I want to separate my time and my income. You want to separate those into two different paths so that you can maximize your time not working. And frankly, my corporate life is very taxing, and I feel like I work until, you know, I was getting up at 4 a.m. working out and then working until dinner time, every night and then working on the weekends. And so when I free myself from that and I have spend time in a business like this or another small business, I get to be a better father and husband. Frankly, I just get to be a better human to everyone around me, and just have more time. Our kids are getting to a point where sports are more and more interesting. So I get to take up, my son to the park and throw him, soft toss or some batting practice. And it just helps a lot. I was overdue on doing some of those things with the kids. And so yeah, that's what it does for me. It just gives me more time to invest in more interesting things than just work, right? And interesting
Same,
and important.
same question for you, Autumn. What does that do for you guys from your perspective?
I mean, yeah, it gives us more freedom to be with our family and to travel when we want to, and yeah, just more freedom.
And then, if the income is there, kind of like what she's saying, one thing I've found when we didn't have much money in life, we were not generous people. The more money we have, earned over time, we get to be more and more generous. And frankly, it's a surprising amount of fun is to, give to some causes or things that you care about. And so, I guess we've addressed the time side of thing being really important, but frankly, income is really important too, and can change not only your family, but just what you can do for the community. Yeah, just be more
Yeah,
generous.
yeah, it's not even about like having the money for yourselves and like it's like what can you do with it? Like what impact can you have? Like when I look at it like yeah, you help people make your like buy time back. Like that's a big part of as you make more money and everything, whether it's this business, different business, whatever it is. Like if you have the ability to buy time back, it's helpful for sure. Buy experiences for your family. Like that's one of the biggest thing. Like buying things, items, cars, whatever it is. Like that doesn't do much for me. But it's
Right.
like buying experiences. Like that's where traveling with my kids, traveling with my family. Like that's stuff like you can't get that back. So yeah, I think you guys are kind of on that same path with this, which is really cool. And I know we're only 4 months in terms of to reiterate for everyone listening, watching, we're only 4 months into Seth and Autumn's land journey. But that being said, like, do you guys have goals as far as different types of deals, subdivisions, anything like that? Like, does that catch your eye? I'm sure you've talked about that a little bit, right?
Yeah, one of the things early on I identified that I wanted to do in this business was do major subdivides, and the reason is because we live in a community that's fast growing, and I feel like outside entities, let's just say DR Horton or whoever, get to come in and dictate, how much neighborhood and how many little tiny parcels there are in our neighborhood. So, if I looked at my magic 8 ball or whatever right here, what I'd like to see in 5 years is that we're developing major subdivides and with reasonable lots, like,
Yeah, like
well, it's 1 to 3 acres, something like that, where you just give I feel like you're serving the land and the community better than just seeing how many doors you can get on a set of property. So that's what I want to do long term. What that looks like short term is we're going to keep doing the business as is for at least 6 months. But after that, I expect we're going to have a deal that's going to be a minor subdivide, and just on accident, it's just going to come to us through our normal mail, and we'll say that's a good one. We actually had one. We've had a few come to us that just didn't work out for whatever reason, but I think that'll be our first minor subdivide. Will be one that is not exactly targeted, but we do that. I am saving right now all my leads I get or land data for 50 acres and above, because what I'd like to do is come back to that maybe at the end of the year when I feel more experienced and I want to send a different kind of letter to them. So
That's cool. I like that. There's so many, and as I drive through like areas, suburbs, like it's holy crap. Like some of these houses are like you reach out the window, you touch your neighbor. Like I
right.
just can't, like, having neighborhoods where there's 1 acre, 3 acres, you don't see that much, but like there's some nice neighborhoods for sure where 20 lots, 3 acres, 60, and you can build. Those are the parcels, houses that can be multiple $1 million houses. But that's really cool as far as doing that long term and having that vision. When you guys look back at, like, I mean, it's crazy. It's weird to say, like, look back at the last 4 months. But like, how much growth have you guys seen in terms of knowledge, in terms of like confidence to do this business? Like, talk about that growth from 4 months ago to now, and like everything that's kind of fueled that.
I'll let you start.
So from the beginning, I think everything I did, I would double check with him. Like, is this right? Does this look okay? How should I respond to this text? And every now and then I'll still like double check with him. But I think like as I'm doing it, I've gained a lot of confidence in my skills and how the game works, I guess is yeah.
For me, I would say I've been on phone previously with my job, dealing with folks a lot, but getting the first few phone calls out of the way increased my comfort level just a ton. And I guess it may be imposter syndrome, right? Like, oh, you're a land investor. Now I more confidently say that I am, in fact. And then comping land quicker, I think. Just looking at land, we've kind of had there's this rule. It's like if it's not a heck yes, it's a no.
Yeah.
I've tried to implement that in buying properties. Like there's been some that are close. I'm like, I'm trying too hard to make this work. I just need to move on. So yeah, probably just comping and just land quickly. And of course, since I have Derek, he's helped a lot with that. And yeah, just comfort on the phone.
Have you guys leaned on, like, obviously having a coach, like I'm sure you lean a lot on him. Have you guys leaned or had value in the Discord community as a whole, seeing other land investors? Some people get, and when you talked about imposter syndrome a second ago, some people get imposter syndrome when they watch people on podcasts and like, I need to be where they are in 4 months, in 8 months. But talk about the community. Have you guys seen much? Has that helped you a lot? Have you leaned on it at all in terms of seeing other people that in similar situations?
In general, my short answer would be no, because I didn't want to get shiny object syndrome, which I know is a problem for a small business with 2 people. And so I enjoy going and looking at the member success stories, for fun and inspiration, and it's fun to see other people's success. But I haven't. I'm not a great Discord member, I guess is the best way to put it, and that's been strategically at this point, just to stay focused. I even stopped listening. I listened to your first podcast just earlier this week, and I hadn't listened for maybe 3 months, and that was also strategic because I have to go through an education process, and then I need to go through a doing process, and then I can't be learning something new every week while I'm doing it, and so. I've enjoyed the Discord community. It's fun to see everyone on there and see the success. And it is cool seeing, some people are big into home mailers, seeing what they're up to, and they'll post pictures of their mailers and how much success they're having. And so it's cool to see the little, I guess you might say, niches, the differences around the edges, and maybe make a note for that for later. But my answer might be different to Discord if I didn't have Derek, frankly. So I did consider that early on. So it's like, can you do a free coaching program by just hanging out on Discord all day? The answer is probably no. but maybe you could do a budget one that way. I don't know. Maybe there's enough value there, but yeah, I'm sure because of Derek, that's kind of leaned me away from spending too much time on Discord as well.
It can kind of make your head spin if you're like listening to podcast and I'll take breaks from business podcast to do more entertainment podcasts. And I kind of go, it's like every 6 months, I'll kind of like flip flop, like, all right, now I need to learn some more. Cause like you said, there's action stages and there's learning stages, and like you take action for 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is. And then like, okay, let me add a little bit to my tool belt and then take action again. And, that's a good way to put it. I do love people watching my podcast, listening to my podcast. But that being said, it makes a ton of sense. Like, because especially with how many interviews I do of people, there's so many people doing different stuff. I just interviewed Nick Yu, who does the home mailers, and it's not out yet. But yeah, he's obviously someone. There's so many different ways to do this business. What about you, Autumn? Is it just kind of leading on Derek same way?
Yeah. So he's the one on Discord. I try not to be on it just so I'm not distracted. But yeah, so if I have a question, I'll be like, can you post this? See what anybody says. But yeah, yeah.
Kind of same thing.
Yeah.
That makes sense. What advice as we finish this up is like, you guys are, a lot of people listening are kind of in similar positions, corporate jobs, good corporate jobs. And I talk to doctors, lawyers, so many different people who are in high up professions that like, no, I'm not leaving this for land. I'm not doing this. And what advice do you have someone, let's kind of keep it targeted on someone who has a good paying W-2, who wants to make a transition eventually, but they are hesitant because of their pay, their income with that job, their benefits, their everything, their retirement, their status. What are your advice? What is your guys' advice on that? I'll start with you, Seth.
Sure. Yeah. So the first thing that comes to mind is the first time we left our business, we had business goals for the publishing business. We said, hey, when we're making this much a month, then I'm comfortable to leave and all that. And so if someone is nervous about the income, obviously you've got two answers: build up your savings, or answer two would be to start the business and get some income coming in that maybe makes you feel more comfortable. I will say, if you're good at your job, I've gotten more job offers after I leave jobs than ever. It's crazy. So there's this mentality we have when we're in a W-2 that maybe we're really important and we can't leave because we're so important. It's like this, mental workaholic thing. And then B, that I've got this great job, I can't lose it. But that so far, that has not been my experience in, I guess, two different stages of life, leaving jobs. So that would be some encouragement. Maybe don't overvalue your current job. If you're a good working professional, like someone, if things don't go well, you're probably going to have more job offers than you know what to do with.
And
but hopefully you don't need them.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like, hopefully you don't need to go back, but it's not that hard to get a job. And
right.
It's a lot harder to get a job when you get fired from a job, I think. But when you don't hit, like, that makes a lot of sense. I think about it from like a coaching industry. Like if a coach quits or like retires, and then they have a bunch of people who want to bring them back, and then they get crazy offers. But like you said, your goal is to make enough in land so those don't look intriguing to you, or like you over like, this looks good. There's probably a lot of things. Anything else you guys want to touch on, like your experience in these first 4 months? Again, I don't think Ben can tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we have interviewed someone who has only been in this business 4 months, but you guys have hit the ground running, so credit to you. But anything else you want to add or that the listeners should know?
I would add that one thing I would encourage people to do is and I'm doing, is we're not hiring fast. Like, I'm actually going to try not to hire anyone all this year. And that's it's partly because of my former experience. Managing people is difficult and can add a lot of headaches. And so I'm trying to win on processes and maybe eliminate what I would need as a job.
Also, like to that, we want to get good at the processes, so we know, like, when we do come to the point of needing to hire someone, we can give them the process that has worked for us. So that, yeah, we need to understand it before we hire anyone outside.
Yeah,
I'm super excited to see your guys' journey as you guys grow in this. You guys talk with a lot of confidence in terms of this business and have grown so much. I'm sure like your knowledge of this business is a credit to you guys and your education that you've done on this and the action you've taken in the first 4 months. But really, really appreciate you guys coming on. If you guys are watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button below. Listen on Spotify or Apple. Share this with a friend. Seth and Autumn are in Discord. I don't know if they'll be out. Maybe they'll be responding to some messages if you guys have questions for them. I'm sure they'd be more than happy to answer any questions. But let us know in the comments if you guys have any other questions for them or anything like that. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time.